You are not losing time because you are lazy. You are losing it because you keep giving your energy to people and situations that do not belong in your path. A wise monk once said, "When you explain yourself to those who cannot understand, you trade your peace for noise." Silence is not weakness, it is mastery. In a world filled with constant chatter, endless opinions, and the hunger for approval, what if the greatest change you could make was not to speak more, but to return to yourself? Pause for a moment and ask yourself, who am I truly building this life for? If you feel drained, stuck, or trapped in the cycle of proving your worth, this is not an accident. It is the trap the world sets to keep you distracted from your own stillness. In this journey we are about to take together, you will discover why turning inward and speaking less can open more doors than years of chasing the noise. But understand, it is not the easy road. This is not a lesson about motivation. It is a lesson about clearing the distractions that steal your spirit. Stay with me until the end, because there is a rare and powerful teaching waiting for you, one that may quietly change the course of your life. Number 1, the power of self-focus. Return to your center. The Buddha taught that peace comes from within, and those words are not simply poetic. They are essential instructions for surviving in a restless and distracted world. When life feels scattered, when the mind becomes tangled in endless thought, and when distractions tug you in every direction, there is one timeless answer in the Buddhist path. Return to your own center. Think of yourself as the sun. The sun is constant, radiant, and full of life-giving warmth. Yet storms pass across its light. Clouds gather, thunder rolls, darkness falls. These passing storms are not the sun itself. They are only temporary visitors. But in forgetting your own center, you start watching the storms instead of shining through them. You scroll through someone else's achievements. You replay words spoken last week. You worry over what might happen tomorrow. And slowly, like sand slipping between your fingers, the present moment disappears. This is the cost of losing your center. You are connected to everything except yourself. Your mind is everywhere except here. Yet the silence you avoid may be the very medicine you need. When you focus inward and allow yourself to be still, life begins to take its proper shape. The world outside does not change, but the way you meet it does. In Buddhist practice, mindfulness is more than sitting in meditation. It is remembering your true nature when the world has forgotten it. It is turning your awareness inward and resting it gently on the breath. It is choosing to observe your worries rather than be pulled into their current. This is the path to liberation. The moment you stop trying to control the outer storm and begin calming the one inside, clarity returns like the still surface of a quiet pond. Think about how often you seek approval, compare your timing to others, or fight battles that were never yours to begin with. Each time you look outward for peace, you trade your inner power for temporary validation. But each time you pause, breathe, and return to your own values, you reclaim your life. You can begin this return in simple steps. First, silence the noise, not by running from the world, but by creating stillness in the heart. Second, watch your thoughts without judgment, allowing them to rise and fall like waves. Third, focus only on what you can guide, your energy, your discipline, and your response. Finally, return to this practice every day, for self-focus is not a single act, but a constant homecoming. There is a teaching about a monk who remained still while the entire village argued around him. When asked why he did not join in the conflict, he said, "If someone offers you a gift and you do not accept it, who does it belong to?" That is the power of choosing silence. It is not weakness, it is wisdom. So reflect on this. Where is your energy flowing today? Are you feeding your fears or nourishing your future? Are you living for approval or for alignment? The truth is simple. The more you focus inward, not in pride, but in awareness, the more life begins to align itself around you. You move from reacting to choosing, from chasing to creating. The noise will never disappear entirely, But you do not have to be part of it. You are the sun. The storms will pass. Return to your breath, your values, and your stillness. When you do, everything else begins to settle into place. Silence is not the absence of strength. It is the living presence of power. 2. Silence as strength. Speak less, align more. Silence is never empty. It is a space where understanding grows. In a world that rewards constant updates, instant replies, and unending chatter, silence has become rare. Yet in the teachings of the Buddha, silence is not a gap between words. It is a living force, a current that flows beneath the noise. It is the quiet strength that keeps you rooted when the winds of chaos try to pull you away. Picture a still pond on a windless day. The water reflects the sky with perfect clarity, showing every cloud and ray of sunlight as they are. The mind is the same. When it is still, it sees truth without distortion. But when rippled by overreaction and endless speaking, clarity is lost. Too often, we speak to fill a pause, to defend ourselves, or to prove we are right. Yet each unnecessary word takes energy from us, and in the rush to respond, we spend more peace than we realize. In moments of tension, the greatest power often comes from pausing. There is an old teaching about a monk who was mocked and criticized by strangers. He smiled, bowed his head, and said nothing. Later, when asked why he stayed silent, he replied, "When someone offers you anger and you do not take it, it remains theirs to carry." Such restraint is not weakness. It is the wisdom to protect your mind from being drawn into storms that are not yours to weather. Think of the times you have walked away from a conversation and wished you had spoken less, or perhaps said nothing at all. We replay those moments at night, feeling the weight of words we cannot take back. But what if holding your tongue was not a loss, but a victory? What if the moments you resisted the urge to react became the moments you truly took control? When you speak less, you hear more. Not only the voices around you, but your own inner voice. You begin to understand your intentions more clearly. Your thoughts sharpen, your presence deepens, and presence is magnetic. People trust those who can stay calm under pressure, who do not need to be the loudest in the room, and whose silence carries more weight than the words of many. You can begin this practice simply. First, pause before you speak. Ask yourself if what you are about to say will bring more peace or more noise. Second, listen fully without shaping your reply in your mind before the other person finishes. Third, let emotions settle like stirred sand in water before you choose your response. Fourth, reflect each day on what silence taught you. With time, you will notice the patterns. The conversations you did not join preserved your energy. The arguments you left unanswered kept your relationships intact. The moments you chose stillness gave you the clarity to choose wisely and live intentionally. You do not need to explain yourself to prove your worth. You do not need to meet every challenge with words. True power is not found in outshouting others, but in mastering yourself. In a culture that celebrates noise, choosing silence is an act of quiet rebellion. It is the way you rise above the chaos, the way you keep your mind unshaken, and the way you return to peace. Sometimes, the most powerful thing you can say is nothing at all. Lesson 3. The art of rising above the storm. The Buddha taught that you only lose what you cling to, and this truth cuts deeper than most people realize. Each time you hold on to resentment, an insult, or a past disappointment, you open the door for suffering to settle in your life. But there is another way. You can choose to release instead of react. You can learn the art of letting the storm pass without letting it touch you. Imagine the open sky, vast, steady, and unmoved. Storms come with heavy clouds and fierce winds, but the sky itself is never harmed. Your mind can be like that. In a world that feeds on reaction and thrives on conflict, rising above does not mean becoming cold or distant. It means becoming clear. It means living with a mind that lets thoughts, opinions, and criticism drift past without taking root. You witness them. You learn what you can, but you do not hold on. That is not indifference. That is mastery. Too often, we carry the weight of other people's projections. A harsh word is spoken, and we replay it for days. Someone doubts us, and we begin to doubt ourselves. But the truth is simple. Not every voice is worthy of your attention, and not every opinion is a reflection of who you are. Detachment is the quiet choice to keep your peace instead of accepting their noise. It is remembering that you are not every thought that crosses your mind, not every emotion that stirs in your heart, and not every story others tell about you. Have you noticed how heavy it feels to hold on to anger, to replay an argument, or to keep seeking approval from someone who has never understood your path? That heaviness is not from the event itself, it comes from the way you clutch it. Protecting your inner space begins with awareness. First, notice the trigger. Feel the moment when something outside you begins to pull your peace away. Second, pause before you respond. Allow yourself to feel the emotion without becoming it. Third, ask yourself if this truly deserves a place in your mind. Finally, release it. See it as a passing cloud in a vast sky. And remember, you are the sky. There is a teaching of a monk who was insulted by a traveler. The monk smiled quietly and walked on. When questioned later, he explained, "If someone tries to hand you a burden and you do not take it, it remains theirs to carry." This is detachment in its purest form. Not passive avoidance, but active mastery over what enters your mind and heart. Detachment does not mean you stop caring. It means you care most about what truly matters: your growth, your clarity, your energy. When you stop trying to control every voice, correct every critic, or explain yourself to everyone, you become untouchable. Not because you have built walls, but because you have built freedom. So reflect for a moment. What would your life feel like if you stopped clinging to the noise and started guarding your peace? In a world that thrives on tension, your calm becomes a quiet act of rebellion. Let the storms roll past. Let the noise dissolve. Protect your inner sky. The less you cling, the higher you rise. Lesson 4. The sacred path of self-discipline. A steady mind creates happiness, not someday in the future, but in the very moment you choose to live with intention. Discipline is not a cage that traps you. It is a framework that sets you free. In a world where demands pull you in every direction, discipline is the quiet way of taking back your time, your energy, and your focus. Think of the bamboo. For years, it sends roots deep into the unseen earth, growing where no one can witness its progress. Then, in what feels like a single season, it shoots upward higher than most trees. That is the nature of inner structure. Silent dedication, invisible labor, and sudden transformation. In Buddhist practice, discipline is not a form of punishment. It is devotion to the highest version of yourself. It is the choice to act in alignment, even when no one is there to praise you, and especially when no one is watching. In times of chaos, habits become your safe ground. When emotions swirl like wind, routine becomes your compass. Discipline does not erase the storms. It allows you to stand taller within them. You cannot wait for the perfect mood to begin. The mind must be trained to act regardless of passing feelings. Think of how many days slip away while you wait for motivation, telling yourself you will start when you feel ready. Discipline is showing up on the cold mornings, on the days when fatigue pulls at you, when a voice whispers, "Not today." That voice is not your truth, it is your test. And each time you rise above it, you strengthen the roots of your inner bamboo. The truest measure of discipline is what you do when no one else is there. Growth lives in the quiet choices. The early meditation before the world wakes. The mindful breath instead of the angry word. The moment you reach for a journal instead of a distraction. The choice of purpose over impulse. You can begin this sacred structure in small but meaningful steps. First, Create simple rituals that honor your values. Start with one. Second, repeat it daily without waiting for the perfect mood. Discipline thrives on consistency, not enthusiasm. Third, notice how your energy shifts when you live in alignment. Let peace be the reward. Fourth, refine your practice over time. Discipline is not about doing everything. It is about doing what matters most with constancy. There is an old story of a monk who swept the monastery garden each morning, even when no leaves had fallen. When asked why, he answered, "It is not about the leaves. It is about the mind I bring to the sweeping." That is the essence of discipline. It is not only the action itself, but the transformation of the self within the action. So reflect today. What would your life look like if every action reflected your values? If you guarded your peace with structure instead of waiting for fleeting motivation? Work quietly, build patiently, show up every day. In time, like the bamboo, all your unseen efforts will break through the surface, undeniable in their strength. Discipline is the silent architect of the life you dream of living. Lesson 5. Releasing harmful ties to guard your inner peace. The Buddha taught that if you light a lamp for another, it will brighten your own path. Yet this is only true when the other does not keep trying to blow out the flame. One of the most courageous acts of self-respect is to walk away, not out of anger, but out of wisdom. You cannot grow in the same soil that once stifled your roots. You cannot heal in the same space where your spirit was fractured. Many remain, believing their warmth will soften the hearts of those who repeatedly bring them coldness. But the question is simple. Are you nourishing your spirit, or are you constantly repairing it after it has been drained? Buddhist compassion extends to all beings, but never at the cost of abandoning oneself. True compassion also includes protecting your own stillness, for you cannot pour from an empty vessel. Energy is as contagious as laughter or sorrow. The longer you stand in the company of chaos, gossip, and bitterness, the more it seeps into your own being. Before long, you cannot tell where their storm ends and your clarity begins. There is a story of a monk who offered blessings to everyone he passed. One day, a traveler filled with resentment mocked and cursed him. The monk simply smiled. When asked why he did not respond, he said, "If someone hands you poison, you are not obliged to drink it." That is the heart of letting go. To release someone from your life is not to hate them. It is to choose not to continue harming yourself. Toxic people do not always come as enemies. They may be friends, family, or even partners. But familiarity is not the same as safety. You can love someone deeply and still recognize they are not meant to walk beside you on your path. Some connections are meant to be teachers, not companions for life. The more tightly you hold on, the more you feel the rope burn in your hands. But once you release, the pain begins to fade and healing has space to enter. To protect your energy, start here. First, notice how you feel after spending time with someone, lighter or heavier. Second, set boundaries quietly. Your peace does not require permission or approval. Third, create sanctuaries of stillness where drama cannot enter. Fourth, release with compassion, blessing their path while continuing your own. This journey is not about isolation. It is about alignment. When you protect your peace, you open the door to people and places that nourish your growth. You attract those who honor your silence, respect your discipline, and encourage your transformation. These are the souls who walk beside you without pulling you away from your truth. So reflect deeply. Who would you be without the voices that question your worth? Without the noise that distracts your mind? Without the weight that bends your spirit? You would be clear. You would be strong. You would be whole. There is no shame in choosing yourself. It may be the most sacred choice you ever make. Not all are meant to travel where you are going, and that is not loss. That is the beginning of the peace you were always meant to live in. Lesson 6. The quiet power that shapes your tomorrow. The person you will become is being built right now, not in the grand, dramatic moments, but in the small choices you make when no one is watching. Transformation does not arrive like a thunderclap. It comes as a whisper. It is hidden in the quiet devotion to small acts that seem unimportant today, but shape the very core of who you will be. Think of rain falling into a vast jar. At first, each drop feels meaningless, too small to matter. But drop after drop, the jar fills. And one day, without even realizing it, you are standing inside a life you have been quietly building all along. Buddhism teaches that every moment is both the seed and the soil of your becoming. The life you imagine is not waiting for you far in the distance. It is being written in the habits you live right now. What thoughts you choose to nurture. What energy you choose to protect. What rituals you keep when the world isn't looking. These are the invisible architects of your reality. Peace is not something you stumble upon by chance. It is something you construct brick by brick, with intention and patience. And the bricks are small. A few breaths of awareness before the day begins. A moment of gratitude before the first sip of tea. 5 minutes in stillness, instead of diving into the flood of notifications. These are not rules meant to control you. They are anchors. They hold you steady in the current. They are the framework of an inner sanctuary that cannot be shaken by the noise outside. Each mindful choice is a beam in the structure. Each pause before you react is a window that lets clarity in. When you show up for yourself day after day, even when it feels dull, even when no one sees, you are building a temple within you. And in that temple, no chaos can enter. So pause and ask yourself right now, what habit is quietly building your future? Is it a habit that strengthens your mind, or one that silently weakens it? Are you feeding your focus or feeding your distractions? You can begin small. First, choose one simple habit that connects you to your best self. Second, link it to something you already do. Let it flow naturally into your day. Third, guard it fiercely. Let neither mood nor excuse take it from you. Fourth, after each practice, notice how you feel. Let it teach you what truly nourishes you. There is a beauty to these small habits. They grow self-respect. Each time you keep your own promise, you tell yourself, I am someone who can be trusted. That trust becomes your identity. That identity shapes your choices. And those choices carve the path of your life. The wise saying holds true. First we shape our habits. Then our habits shape us. So shape them with care. Shape them with love. The life you long for will not be built in a single leap. It will be built in the quiet, sacred repetitions you choose each day. The ones no one sees, the ones no one claps for, but the ones that slowly turn you into the person you were always meant to become. Lesson 7. Stillness in the storm. The art of responding with wisdom. Do not train yourself to react. Train yourself to respond. When the winds of chaos rise, most people are carried away without knowing it. A single sharp word, an unexpected setback, a sudden wave of discomfort, and they are lost in the current, swept into arguments, frustration, or panic. But picture this instead. You, standing as the calm in the center of the storm. You bend when the wind blows. You sway when pressure mounts. Yet you never break. You are like the great tree whose roots run so deep that no storm can pull it from the earth. This is the essence of mindfulness in chaos. The Buddha's teaching is clear. Suffering is not born from the event itself, but from the way the mind meets it. An untrained mind reacts without pause, rushing to defend, to accuse, to control. A trained mind waits in stillness for a breath, and in that space, wisdom has room to speak. That single pause becomes the birthplace of peace. Think back to the last time you reacted too quickly. Did your reaction solve the problem or deepen it? Reactions are born from ego. They are quick, heated, and defensive. But responses are born from awareness. They come from the breath you take before speaking, from the clarity you allow before choosing, from the stillness you cultivate before the world has a chance to shake you. Your breath is the anchor that never leaves you. No matter how fierce the moment, it is always there. One slow inhale before you send the reply. One quiet exhale before you answer in anger. One full moment of stillness before you take your next step. This is where your strength begins. To train the mind to respond rather than react, begin with simple practices. First, notice your triggers, the moments, words, or people that stir instant reaction in you. Second, interrupt the pattern with breath. Inhale fully, exhale slowly. Third, ask yourself if your next words or actions will bring you closer to peace or keep you tied to the problem. Fourth, practice in the smallest moments, the delays, the irritations, the unexpected changes, so that when the bigger storms come, your roots are already deep. It will not be perfect. There will be days you forget, but mindfulness is not about flawless control. It is about intentional presence. Each time you catch yourself before reacting, you reclaim your energy. You stop being at the mercy of emotion and begin to shape your own response. Over time, people will feel it. Your quiet composure will carry more weight than any raised voice. Your steady presence will begin to calm the storms around you, and you will see that the real strength was never in winning the argument. It was in remaining unshaken while the world spun around you. Ask yourself this now. Do your reactions pull you forward into growth, or do they hold you bound to the patterns of your past? Can you be unmoved in the noise? Can you choose to stand in silence while others scatter in the wind? This is more than self-control. It is spiritual maturity. It is choosing peace over pride, presence over pressure, wisdom over impulse. Each time you choose to respond instead of react, you are not only protecting your peace, you are practicing freedom. True mastery is not loud. It is the quiet voice of wisdom rising in the space between stimulus and action. When you learn to master that pause, you master yourself. Lesson 8, the mirror within, discovering your true self. The Buddha taught, know clearly what moves you forward and what holds you back. Yet most of us drift through life in a blur of reaction, survival, and adjustment, rarely pausing to look inside. If the mind is the lens through which you see the world, self-awareness is the act of polishing that lens. You cannot correct what you refuse to see. You cannot rise above what you will not admit. A dark room can only be cleaned once the light is switched on. Self-inquiry is that light. It is not loud or dramatic. It is often quiet, confronting, and at times uncomfortable. Yet, it is also one of the highest forms of courage, to turn inward and ask yourself, who am I when the world is not watching? Why do I react the way I do? What truths am I avoiding in my stillness? These questions will not hand you instant answers. Instead, they open a door that can never be closed again. You may think you already know yourself, but your habits, emotional triggers, and hidden fears often live in the blind spots of your awareness. Every defensive comment, every moment of procrastination, every hour lost in distraction, every silence held when you long to speak. These are not failures. They are signals. They are mirrors showing you where attention is needed. Self-inquiry is the art of reading those signals and asking, what is this trying to reveal to me? Every reaction points to a wound waiting to be healed. Every fear hides something sacred beneath it. Every avoidance marks a path leading back to your truth. This is not a one-time revelation, but a living practice. True self-awareness grows in the daily moments you choose stillness, not to escape life, but to meet it honestly. It is sitting with your thoughts without judgment, noticing the stories you tell yourself, and tracing the roots of your beliefs. Not to condemn yourself, but to understand. And in that understanding, freedom begins to blossom. You can start simply. First, write down the moments that trigger you. Be honest and unfiltered. Second, when you catch yourself reacting, pause and ask, what fear lives beneath this? Third, instead of running from uncomfortable emotions, sit with them. Let them speak before you move. Fourth, replace judgment with curiosity. You're not broken. You're in the process of unfolding. It will always be easier to look outward, to distract yourself, to blame the world. But no real change begins until you turn inward, until you are willing to sit in silence and listen. That is where your true strength lives. Not in reshaping the outside world, but in understanding and shaping the world within. So ask yourself, what truth have I been avoiding? What would happen if I stopped running and simply stayed? Stayed present, stayed curious, stayed honest. That is when clarity arrives. Not as a dramatic shout, but as a soft whisper that feels like it has been with you all along. You are not truly lost. You are simply unfamiliar with the depths that exist within you. And when you dare to explore those depths, you will discover that the answers you have been seeking were always there. The beginning of peace is the moment you stop hiding from yourself and start listening to the quiet voice within. Lesson 9. Stepping back to step within. The power of digital detachment. The Buddha taught that the mind is a wonderful servant but a dangerous master. In our modern world, the loudest noise is no longer the chatter of the streets or the hum of the marketplace. It's the constant buzz in our pockets. A vibration here, a ping there, an endless scroll of updates and opinions. Without noticing, you go from living your own story to becoming a passenger in someone else's. Buddhist wisdom reminds us that you cannot hear the voice of your own soul if the volume of the world is always turned up. This is not poetic advice. It is a matter of mental survival. A mind pulled in 100 digital directions cannot remain peaceful. Every time you reach for your phone before reaching for your own breath, you train yourself to give the outside world priority over your inner clarity. What begins as a harmless habit quickly grows into something dangerous. A life led by reaction instead of reflection. You process more information but understand less of yourself. You consume more content but feel more empty. This is not connection. It is fragmentation. It is mental clutter disguised as stimulation. But imagine this, stepping away for a while, logging off, not forever, but long enough to feel your own thoughts again, long enough to rediscover boredom, not as a flaw to escape, but as a doorway to reflection. In that stillness, you remember that clarity does not live in the scroll. It lives in silence. Peace is not found in endless consumption, but in conscious preservation of your attention. You can begin simply. Treat solitude as you would any important meeting. Schedule it, protect it, honor it. Put your phone aside. Let there be no screens, no notifications, no noise. At first, the quiet may feel strange, even uncomfortable, like something is missing. But that is only the absence of distraction. What you are truly feeling is the presence of yourself returning. Ask yourself, is your screen time nourishing your mind or scattering it? Do you use the digital world, or has it begun to use you? The aim is not to abandon technology entirely, but to take back your role as its master, to decide when to connect and when to walk away. Digital detachment is not about becoming a monk on a mountain. It is about becoming the guardian of your own focus. It is about returning your energy to what feeds your inner life. The stillness of a morning without alerts. The taste of a meal without a screen. The deep breath taken without an audience. Silence is not a gap in your day. It is the place where healing begins. It is where intuition grows louder, where scattered thoughts begin to settle, where the mind remembers its own power. When you unplug from the constant noise, you reconnect to the steady current within you. You realize that your worth is not measured in notifications, and your peace does not require likes. So reflect on this. What would your day feel like if you were not always plugged in? What kind of creativity, clarity, and calm would surface if your attention belonged fully to you again? Sometimes, the most powerful thing you can do for yourself is to log out of the world and log back into your own soul. Lesson 10. Trust the process, release the prize. There comes a point in every journey when you must ask yourself, will I keep walking even when I cannot see the end? Many people do not suffer because they fail. They suffer because they cannot let go of controlling the result. Buddhist wisdom offers a gentler, more powerful way. Do the work and release the outcome. This is not simply advice. It is a practice of freedom. It is the art of moving through life without chaining your peace to something you cannot control. Think of the farmer. He plants the seed, waters the soil, and shields it from harm. Then he waits. He does not dig into the earth each morning to check on the roots. He does not curse the sky if the rain comes late. He trusts the unseen growth. He surrenders. Clinging to the outcome is like holding your breath while waiting for applause. It tightens the body and clouds the mind. You begin to measure your worth by outside markers, the approval of others, the timing of rewards, the number of hands clapping. But when you release the result, you return to the only thing you truly own, the quality of your effort in this moment. Peace is not found in the harvest. It is found in the planting. It lives in showing up with presence, in giving your full heart to the work, in knowing you have done your best without demanding a certain ending. This is not passivity. It is strength without strain. When you focus on the process, you stop moving with force and start moving with grace. You slow down enough to see the beauty in the step you are taking now, instead of racing toward a finish line that keeps moving further away. You release the restless grip of what if and root yourself in what now. Ask yourself, am I working with presence or with attachment? Is my mind anchored in this moment or chained to a future I cannot control? Many delay their dreams not because they lack motivation, but because they fear how they will be judged when the results appear. But effort born from presence is an act of trust. It says, if I pour myself into this moment, life will meet me here. Keep writing even when the words feel unnoticed. Keep creating even when the applause is silent. Keep walking even when the road is empty. Trust is built in those quiet spaces. Growth unfolds in those still hours. Often, life aligns only after you loosen your grip, not while you cling with desperation. So consider this. What if you trusted the process more than the prize? What if you allowed yourself to feel proud, not because of the outcome, but because you gave your whole self to the journey? That is the freedom of the peaceful warrior, to act with focus, to live with presence, and to rise without attachment. When you master this, you stop merely moving through life. You begin to rise through it. Lesson 11, the strength found in sacred solitude. Most people avoid being alone, not because solitude is truly painful, but because it strips away every distraction that hides what is real. In a world that glorifies constant connection, silence can feel like emptiness. But silence is not empty. It is filled with answers waiting to be heard. Solitude is not a sentence of exile. It is a sacred doorway. When you step through it, you enter your own energy, untouched, unshaped by outside noise. And in that space, raw and unfiltered, transformation begins to take root. Think of the seed buried in the soil. Before it blooms above the earth, it spends its first season in darkness, alone, sending roots deep into the unseen. If disturbed too soon, it would never survive the storms ahead. You are no different. The quiet strength you admire in others was forged in seasons when they stood alone, when no one was clapping, but everything inside was growing. Solitude is where your roots find their depth. It reveals what the world's noise has been masking. It shows you the truth of your own thoughts, your real desires, and the patterns that shape your life. Alone, you begin to ask questions that cut through illusions. What am I truly chasing? Whose approval am I living for? What do I want beyond the pressure and beyond the noise? These questions cannot be answered in the chaos of distraction. They are heard only when you sit with yourself, not to fix or judge, but to listen. Many confuse stillness with stagnation, but solitude is not idleness. It is a return to the center. It is where clarity surfaces, emotions find their calm, and your direction becomes unmistakable. When you choose to be alone, you stop outsourcing your wisdom. You start trusting the compass within. Ask yourself, do I fill my days with noise to avoid facing myself, or do I allow silence to guide me? The person who can sit alone and feel full is the person who cannot be manipulated by the world. In solitude, your energy stops leaking into places that do not serve you. You are no longer performing for others, defending yourself, or comparing your path to theirs. You are simply being, and in that being, you remember your worth. You feel your breath deepen. You realize, I am enough, here, in this moment, without more, without less. It is here that your power returns, not from adding more to your life, but from needing less. If you feel scattered or stuck, perhaps what you need is not another piece of advice, but the removal of noise. Less seeking, less proving, less comparing. Your breakthrough may not arrive in the middle of busyness. It may be waiting for you in the quiet, where your soul has been whispering all along. Solitude is not loneliness. It is sacred ground. And when you choose to meet yourself there, you find that everything you thought you had lost was simply buried under the noise, waiting for you to come home. Bonus principle: freedom from the mind, becoming the watcher. Overthinking is like trying to untangle a knot that was never meant to be undone. The mind spins in circles, replaying, analyzing, predicting, all in the name of caution or preparation. But beneath the surface lies fear. Fear of losing control, fear of being unworthy, fear that something will go wrong. The truth is, you are not the voice in your head. You are the one who hears it. Just as a river is not defined by the leaves drifting along its surface, you are not defined by the thoughts passing through your mind. You can watch them without becoming them. And in that space of pure observation, overthinking begins to dissolve. Picture your thoughts as leaves floating down a clear stream. Some are dark with fear, others heavy with regret, and a few glisten with hope. But none of them are you. The stream moves on, and you remain on the bank, watching. You do not leap into the water to chase a single leaf. You let them pass. This is mindfulness, a quiet return to presence. Overthinking creates problems that exist only in the mind. You rehearse arguments that never happen. You relive moments you cannot change. You build entire futures out of guesswork and assumptions. And yet, the peace you seek never comes from solving every imagined scenario. It arrives when you stop needing to. The mind craves certainty, but life offers only this moment. When you choose to witness your thoughts instead of believing them, you anchor yourself in reality. Think of all the energy spent worrying about what never happened, the sleepless nights, the repeated conversations in your head, the guilt over things that were never fully in your control. Now ask yourself, what might change if you stopped following every thought? What space would open in your life if you were the watcher instead of the reactor? This is where Buddhist wisdom guides us, toward awareness instead of attachment, toward the stillness beneath the noise. The moment you realize that your thoughts are not facts, everything begins to shift. You no longer flinch at every shadow of fear. You no longer spiral when uncertainty knocks. Instead, you pause, you breathe, you rest in the present moment. And from that stillness, life stops feeling like something you are trying to manage and starts becoming something you can truly experience. Make this your practice. When thoughts arise, and they always will, acknowledge them without inviting them in. Let them pass like clouds across a wide sky. Return to the breath, return to now. In time, you will see that peace does not mean having no thoughts. It means not letting your thoughts hold you hostage. You stop chasing them, and they stop chasing you. And then you realize peace was never hidden in thinking more. It was here all along, waiting for you in the quiet of this moment. Closing, walking the path of the peaceful mind. We have walked together through 11 teachings and one final bonus truth. Each a step on the path to a calmer, clearer, more powerful you. These were not just ideas to remember, they were practices to live. You have learned the strength of self-focus, the power of silence, the freedom of detachment, the structure of discipline, the courage to release harmful ties, the transformation of small habits, the wisdom of mindful response, the clarity of self-inquiry, the renewal of digital detachment, the liberation of releasing outcomes, the quiet strength of sacred solitude, and the deep peace that comes from watching your thoughts instead of becoming them. Each of these lessons is a seed. Some will take root quickly. Others will rest quietly until the right season arrives. But all of them, if tended daily, will grow into the unshakable presence you are capable of becoming. Life will not stop being loud. The world will not stop demanding your attention. There will always be noise, distraction, and uncertainty. But you are no longer required to live at their mercy. You have within you the ability to return to center again and again, no matter how many storms pass through. The question now is not whether you can change. The question is, will you practice? Will you take one step today, however small, toward living with more awareness and more compassion for yourself? Peace is not a gift the world gives to you. It is a garden you plant within, a garden only you can tend. With each breath, each choice, and each moment you return to presence, you strengthen its roots. As you leave this space, remember this truth. You are not the noise. You are not the storm. You are not even the passing thoughts. You are the sky, vast, steady, and open, able to hold it all without being defined by any of it. Start where you are. Use what you have. Take one teaching and live it today. Tomorrow, return to the path. The journey to peace is not a race, it is a return. Again and again, you come home to yourself. And in that homecoming, you will discover that the calm you have been searching for was never out there. It was always here, waiting,